Hi guys, welcome back. It's another Friday session. So you know what that means? It is draw and chat with me. Today, I'm just going to show you how to draw this bumblebee in Inkscape. We are only going to use two shapes, a circle and a rectangle, to draw everything that you see right there. So if this is your first time joining me, hi, welcome. I'm Nadawa from Paperflow Designs. I teach crafters how to make and use SVG files in their crafts. SVGs are just vector graphics. And the cool thing about vector graphics is that you can shrink them, you can increase them, you can decrease them, and they don't lose the quality of the image. So that's why I love using them. And I like using Inkscape to make my graphics. So, as you're joining me, say hi, tell me where you're watching me from. And if you are already an Inkscape user, you can get the color palette to make this drawing the same as me on my blog at paperflowdesigns.com/blog/how to draw a bumblebee. Can't remember that? Just go to paperflowdesigns.com and write in bumblebee. It will be the same color palette that we're using for this whole drawing challenge. This is the second part of my Spring in Bloom drawing challenge. Last week was part one, which I showed you how to draw a daisy and used maybe some techniques that you don't know about in Inkscape. You may or may not know, depending on how much experience you have. So the color palette is free there. I'm also going to be using lots of shortcuts that I have in my Inkscape Ready, Set, Go ebook. So if you are not that familiar with Inkscape or you don't know about using the shortcuts are great. They save you a lot of time from having to go back and forth to the menu bars. Once you know them and memorize them, it's just really easy to use those tools and the functions in there. So you can find that also on my blog, same blog post. And lastly, if you know that making SVG files is something for you, let's say you make a lot of crafts, you make a lot of like t-shirts or mugs, but you don't know how to make your own designs and you're thinking about learning how to do that, I have a course called So Simple SVG Files. You can go over to my blog again, that's paperflowdesigns.com/courses, and learn all about how to make SVG files. It's a video course that I'll show you step by step how to make your own SVG files. Righty, let me jump right into today's tutorial. If you do have questions, write them down in the comments section. Even if you're watching this on replay, you're not watching on live, the best way to catch me live, in case you have questions, is to be part of my VIP club. You can go over to my blog, sign up for the color palette, losing my words, the color palette, and you will automatically be part of my VIP club, and you'll get the emails to let you know exactly when I'm coming on live so you can join me. All right, guys. Let's jump into today's tutorial. So, like I said, we're starting off really simple, basic shapes again. Making a circle, so I'm using the ellipse tool to make a circle. You can't quite see it right there because it's in white, but I am going to change the color to black. So that's our circle. This is going to be the head of the bee. I'm going to duplicate that for the body. I just moved it off. Every time you see me just moving the same shape off, it's just to show you that it's been duplicated. So I just duplicate it, and then I use Control-Z, which is one of the shortcuts in Inkscape, to move it right back. So I've elongated that shape of the circle to be sort of like an oval shape. And this is going to be the body of our bumblebee. So I've duplicated that again. If you don't have, sometimes I use my graphic tablet to make these drawings. Sometimes I just use my mouse. It kind of really depends on like how complicated the design is. So that third circle, I've just changed the color to yellow, which is the first color on the color palette. So don't feel intimidated if you don't have a drawing tablet, graphic tablet. It's interchangeable. They're pretty much the same thing. You can still use your mouse to make these simple designs. I mean, you can use your mouse to make complicated designs, but I find that when you're making like really intricate designs and you're working with your mouse for a long time, I find that my hand tends to cramp up, and using a tablet with the pen is just easier. If you want to know the tools that I use, I have that in the blog post to show you exactly which tools I use, but you can use any graphic tablet. All right, so I have just cut out that little arc shape. This is actually going to be the first antenna for our Bumblebee. So I just took the two circles, which are like two ovals, and cut out a shape. I like to just duplicate my shapes over and over again, so I don't have to start drawing every single thing from scratch every single time. So a lot of times when you see that I duplicate something, it's because I know I'm going to reuse that shape again. All right, so this little circle, duplicated that. I'm going to change the color to black, and then I'm going to just shrink it down to make that little ball on the end of the antenna of the Bumblebee. So just double click it or click it once to get the arrow so that you can shrink it down. And then I can select these two shapes and I can duplicate them. So that's going to be the right side of the antenna, and then I can duplicate what I've just made to make the left side, of course. So anything to save a little time, I find so helpful. So I just want to show you really quickly the pen that I use that comes with the tablet. It's like I said, if you go to the blog post, you'll see a picture of the new version of the tablet that I use. I've had mine for a few years. I love it. I don't really see a reason to upgrade because it still works just fine for me. But it is the brand Queon. I can never say this right, but it's written there in the post, so you can check it out and see if that's what you want to use. If you don't already have one, it's not really expensive either. But like I said, you can also use your mouse. All right, so I've duplicated the antenna, the first one, and then I can just use a shortcut to flip it and then hold down Control H so that it's on the same level. If I just click it and slide it over without holding down the Control key, it just won't be like completely aligned, which is fine. It doesn't have to be, but if you are a stickler for making things nice and neat, that's a little tip for you. If you hold down the Control button, you can move your design to be perfectly aligned. All right, so I'm using a rectangle now to make the stripes for the Bumblebee. And we're actually going to duplicate a few things so that we can kind of like make a cutout. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So it's going to be yellow stripes that we're making. And I'm going to duplicate the circle on the head. First, I'm going to put a little curve into the stripe, so it actually looks like it's, kind of like wrapping around his body and not just flat. That's better. All right, bring that down to about 2/3 down the head. And I'm going to duplicate that because I'm going to use that stripe again, and I don't feel like making a whole new one from scratch. So duplicate the head. I selected the two of those, and then I'm just going to cut that inside stripe in there. So you can see, I'm going to move it over for you. There you go. That it's actually in the shape of the head, or inside the head. I mean, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And I'm going to make about 2 more of these stripes going down his body. I'm going to make this one a little bit thinner because I won't have enough space. You can make yours as thin or as thick as you want. There are no rules. So I just duplicated the body so it's on top. And I selected those 2 shapes, and I'm going to cut that shape out, that stripe out. I'm going to do it one more time. So as you can see, it's not super complicated, especially when you know the shortcuts. So we're duplicating that body again, but don't have to start from scratch each time I'm drawing a piece. And that's one of the things that I really like about vectors is that yeah, you can reuse pieces that you have over and over again. I'm going to use this last rectangle to make his stinger. A little tail. It's not a tail on them. Yeah, it's a stinger. These have stingers. I'm just going to delete one of the corners to kind of make like a triangle shape. I could have just used the, what is it, the stars tool, which lets you choose how many points you want, but I already have the rectangle, so there's really no need for me to start all over with a new tool. I can just use the shape that I already have here. I'll zoom in. You can see where I can pull out the edges a little bit to shape it into what's going to be the stinger. It's yellow for now just because I just used the leftover stripe, but of course I'm going to change that color when I'm ready. I'm going to change that to black. All right, so I just pick the color dropper and change it to black. Then I will move that into place, and I can double click to get the rotation arrows and to shrink it. Now you can see it's really starting to come together. You can see that it's a B. So I'm going to select the stinger, and then I'm going to select the body, and I'm going to unite them together. All right. You can probably hear somebody in the background because my son has decided to come in here while I'm online. Of course. Yeah. Hi. All right. All right. So I have combined the stinger and the body, so you can see that it's one piece now. And I'm going to select the two antennas, and I'm going to combine that with the body as well, so I can have one piece. You can leave them as separate pieces if you want. I don't see why you would want to, but I mean, it's an option. You can always do that. I just think it's going to be easier when you go and like upload this to Cricut and you want to cut it out to have everything which is the same color as one piece. So that's why I'm putting them all together and combining them into one instead of leaving them as, I think I would have had 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces if I didn't combine them. So you can see it's all one piece with the black base of the bumblebee, and then the yellow stripes are 3 different stripes. Now we're going to get ready to make his wings. And I'm still going to use the circles that I used to make the head and the body, but I'm just going to alter them a little bit. I'm thirsty. Right, so I will just double click to get my arrows and rotate that. I'm leaving it yellow just so you can see what I'm doing, but of course, the wings are going to be white. But for now, so that you can see what I'm doing, it's in yellow. And then I can just double click to get the nodes and pull that bottom node out to make the shape of the first wing. And I can just push and like nudge those corners and ends in to get it into like sort of a point, but I don't really like really pointy. All right, that I'm liking that. We're also going to use the tool that I showed you last week, which is the offset tool, which is great for putting, if you want to make something look like it has a border, I find that the offset tool is a really great option because it gives you that nice, even, same thickness all around your shape. Because you can have, you can duplicate it But the problem is when you duplicate it, it might not be completely even, the border that you put on there. And the offset tool just lets you do that. And the way that I do it is that I first duplicate the object. I'm changing the color because my border is going to be black, and I'm going to send it to the back. So when I send the top black layer to the back, you're not going to see it anymore until I use the offset shortcut. And when I use the offset shortcut, you'll see that there'll be like one little node. You'll see like one little node show up at the top. There it is. You see that little node? And then I can just pull that out. And that gives me that nice even border around it. So this is the same thing, if you remember, that we did with the daisies. And I'm going to try to use this tool in all of the parts of the challenge, just so that, you know, it can look kind of like even and cohesive. And it's nice to learn how to use a new tool as well. So I can select both of those now, and I can duplicate it to make the bottom part of the wing. So this is the top part of the wing. So this, like I said, is the second part of the drawing challenge. And there are going to be 2 more lessons to come. So next Friday and the Friday after that. So come back and watch them all. And you'll see at the end that we're going to do something with them. All right, so now I've duplicated the top part of the wing. I'm going to give it a different look because I don't want the top and the bottom to be the same size. And if you miss any of the lessons in the drawing challenge, you can always go over to my blog and put in a spring, and you will be able to find all the lessons for the drawing challenge so you can catch up to it when you have time. So do realize maybe this time of 12 p.m. Eastern may not be best for everybody. Some people might be at work or working from home. All right, so now I've just duplicated those 2 wings that I created again to make the left side of the wings, and that is a bumblebee put together. So that was for the second lesson in the Spring and June challenge. We're still using the same color palette. If you didn't get a chance to do it along with me, go ahead and rewatch. Go ahead and rewatch the video so that you can, you know, see step by step how I did it, how I put it together. I think it's pretty easy for beginners. If you're new to Inkscape and you want to give it a try, this is a great lesson to get started with. You can go through all of the lessons in the drawing challenge with me. And to make sure that you are getting notified of what's coming next, make sure to get on my VIP list by going over to paperflowdesigns.com/blog/how to draw a bumblebee or any one of them. All right. Felicia says that was really cool. I'm glad you liked it, Felicia. Keep coming back every week. So it'll be the same time, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we're going to draw. I don't want to say which one because I might get it mixed up, but there's going to be 2 more parts of the challenge. If you want to know what's on the roster, you just go over to the blog and you'll see what's on there and what's next. If you missed any of it, of course, you can go over to the blog as well and catch all the videos on there. Let me know if you like this. Let me know what other challenges you want to do, other drawing challenges you want for the next upcoming month. I love to get your feedback. I love to hear what you're interested in. And I also love to see what you've made with the drawings too. So go ahead and send me those. And I will see you again next week. And also, share this with someone who you know is a fellow crafter that would love to see this. Because like I said, not everyone's probably available at this time at noon. It's kind of like in the middle of the day. I do realize that. For me, it's the beginning of the evening. Since I do live in France, it's a different time zone. But the beauty of it is that it stays on here. You can share it and you can rewatch it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again next Friday. Bye.